All right, in today's video reference, we're going to learn how to estimate irrational square roots. And the reason these are going to be irrational square roots is because they're not going to be perfect square. There's no fraction that could make that actually work. So notice we're going to do this without a calculator. In 8th grade, they asked you to learn how to estimate this without a calculator. Do not use a calculator without a calculator. Definitely going to come up on tests and quizzes and then MCAS, of course. So the first part, we've done this before, is just to quickly fill out this chart for our reference. So who thinks they can square all these numbers, which means like 3 times 3, 6 times 6, 9 times 9, and so on. So raise your hand if you think you can do it. Hopefully you said 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, and 144. Okay, so now vice versa, you can definitely get the square roots because these are just asking what number times itself is 81, times itself is 9, times itself is 100. Raise your hand. Anyone for a Scooch think they can do that? Yeah, 9, 6, 12, 3 times 3 is 9, 8 times 8 is 64, 2 times 2 is 4, 10, and 4. Okay, so in part 3, what two numbers, so like these are all irrational numbers here. So all these numbers here are irrational. So the task now is, can we estimate without a calculator what this will all come out to be to the nearest tenth? So the first method we're going to learn today is just like guess and check. And so to get an estimate, you have to figure out what two square roots it's between, or what two numbers it's between. So the square root of 50, right? If we look on our chart here, the square root of 50 is like right around here, right? So you would say it's between, we'll just put here the square root of 49, the square root of 64, which is of course 7 and 8. So with this one, this is between 5 and 6 because that's the square root of 25, and that's the square root of 36, would give us close to that. About the square root of 72, what numbers do you think that would be between 72, somewhere in here, about this area? So hopefully you would say it's between 8 and 9. Let's be more specific just for today's lesson. What two square roots are between, is square root of 10 between? Yeah, it's between square root of 9, square root of 9 and square root of 16. So it's between 3 and 4. How about square root of 139? Yeah, it's between 121 square root and 144 square root. So it's between 11 and 12. And then the square root of 19, raise your hand, what two square roots is that between? Yeah, it's definitely between the square root of 16 and 25. So it's between the numbers 4 and 5. All right, so that's the first step, is now I know that all these irrational numbers are some decimal between 7 and 8, between 8 and 9, between 3 and 4, between 11 and 6, 12, and so on and so forth. The next step that you have to be able to do is decide which one is it closer to, which whole number is it closer to. So the square root of 20, well, let's start with the example, sorry. So square root of 85, that's closer to 9 because 85 is closer to 81 than it is to 100, and 81 is the square root of 81. Sorry, you can't see that too well. Is 9. So let's do every other, and then you can talk about the other ones. So what do you think about the square root of 20? Is it closer to 4 or is it closer to 5? I would say 4. Sometimes it helps to put what the actual square numbers are. 25. So I would say it's a little bit closer to 4, but not by much. We'll skip this one. Let's go on to this one. So we know that squared is 121. That's 144. So which one do you think it's closer to? I would say it's closer to 11. Skip this one. Go on to this one. About the square root of 40, right? So we know it's between 6 and 7, 36 and 49. I would say it is definitely closer to the 6. Yeah. All right. Try that with the partner. See if you can do the other ones that we missed. All right. Hopefully, square root of 97, you said it's closer to 10. Square root of 15, hopefully you said it's closer to 4. Square root of 70, hopefully you said it's closer to 8. All right, so now comes the final step, which is where you actually have to estimate the square roots to the nearest tenth. And again, this is the guess and check. So yesterday we actually, or the day before, we actually multiplied, a whole number in the tens place by itself. And so that's why we're doing that, is so that way we can see which one it's closest to. So in this example, they tried the square root of 39. And you can see it's between 6 and 7. It's definitely closer to, let's see, I would say it's closer to 6, right? Because square root of 36. So if you do, the way I usually do it, square root of 36, square root of 49, it's closer to this. So you try tens places that are closer to 6, so 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. So if you look, we want to get 36. So which one is closest to 36? I would say, I'm sorry, I want to get closest to 39. My bad. So 39, we would go, it is this one right here. It's 38.44 is pretty close to 39.